The truth about how to get rich. So Robert Kiyosaki wrote a book. It was called Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's the best-selling personal finance book ever. And in that book, he talks about the Cashflow Quadrant. There's 4 different quadrants or areas that you can be in. Now, the scary thing is 95% of people are in the wrong quadrant, and it's keeping you poor. So this is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com, and welcome to I Love Prosperity, where we help ensure your financial independence in a changing world. Now, it is never, ever, ever, ever been easier to move into the right quadrant so that you can get rich. But the problem is you've been taught to be in the wrong one. So we're going to break that down on the truth to getting rich. Make sure you hit the like button right over there. And let's get right into this video. So the first part of the cash flow and the most common place of the quadrant that people are in is an employee. Nothing wrong with being an employee whatsoever, but here are the negative sides that often keep most people stuck from ever achieving financial independence. Now, before we get into those, let's just backtrack for a minute. So they say 75% of people are living paycheck to paycheck. The majority of people don't have the money to retire, and 9 out of 10 people die with less than $10,000 and virtually no financial assets. So the vast majority of people are not only do they not have financial security or comfort, they don't even have any independence. And a lot of that comes down to a few aspects of the employee quadrant. So employee quadrant is where essentially you're going to trade your time directly for money to a company or a boss. Say you get paid $15 an hour. The problem with this isn't like, there's a lot of people that demonize being an employee. There's no troubles with that. The problem with it is just that, especially if you live in a state that has its own taxes on top of federal taxes, almost 50% of your money's gone. So they tell you you're working for $15 an hour, but you're really working for about like $7.50. Now, the trouble with this is there's no way to shield it. When we move into the other quadrants we'll discuss later, you can shield it. But the government passed a tax act to help fund the war. And when they did, they made it so that they could take the money before you get it. You know how like when your employer sends you a direct deposit and half your money's already gone? Yeah, government did that on purpose because they know you probably won't end up paying them. And so they want to ensure that they get the money. So the first problem with that is obviously taxes. And if you look at the wealthiest people in the world, they're utilizing tax law. The vast amount of people that are living from paycheck to paycheck or dying without retirement are not taking advantage of tax law. Now, if you dig your job, there's no reason to quit. But if you can watch this video all the way through, you can actually implement some of these other steps that will help you save more money in taxes and earn more money. So that's the first negative of being an employee. Now, the next is that there generally is a fixed income ceiling. So if you make, again, $15 an hour, we'll just use the same example, it's a fixed income ceiling. There's a legitimate ceiling, and no matter how good or bad you do, unless you do it really bad and they fire you, you're gonna get $15 an hour. So you can pretty much predict the amount of money you're gonna make every month, and this is a fixed income level. Now, the problem with that is that it doesn't allow for real income growth. So some quick things that you can consider is there a way for you to move part-time to sales or part-time to performance-based? And when you can do anything you can to increase your income ceiling, you start to put yourself in a lot better ball game to play in. But what happens is people get stuck on this cycle of a very fixed income ceiling. Now, if you're paid well, it's not that big of a problem, but it still stinks because you're probably losing almost 50% of your money. But then the third danger of that comes into play when you don't know whether that's going to be there forever. So every year, maybe you make $50,000 and after taxes, you're making like 30. And it's cool, you know, you've simplified your lifestyle to be able to afford it, and the employee or the employer is paying for, you know, your insurance and things like that. But you're at the mercy to the economy and the employer, and you don't know whether that's going to be there forever. And that's why it's important that you keep watching this video all the way through so you can learn how to implement some of these other steps from the other sides of the cash flow quadrant. Okay, now when people get sick and tired of being sick and tired of a low income ceiling, and maybe their boss is mean or their boss isn't giving them any opportunity to earn more money, they generally move into the next side of the quadrant, which is self-employed, which I found out the hard way is really like being employed but working double time. Because it's really not owning a business. It's just kind of going into your business for yourself. You get a little bit more of the tax benefits, a little bit lower of your taxable income percentage, but at the same time, so let's say for instance you work for Massage Envy, right? And you're getting paid, we'll just use the same number, I'm sure it's not how it works, but $15 an hour, you're ending up with $750 like we spoke of earlier. So you decide to go into business for yourself. So you become a self-employed massage therapist and you charge $20 an hour. So you're not really in business in the traditional sense of the word, because now you're the business owner and the employee. And I found that the hard way with my business, and I realized that it is very, very, very difficult. And you're not even using the majority of the incentives of what business is about: scalability, leverage, and the tax benefits. So you're stuck in basically the same cycle, but for a lot of people, it's even worse than being an employee, because you're working even more because you're trying to keep your business above water. There are some benefits of it, and I think the biggest benefit is it can allow you to implement a value to the marketplace or serve people in the marketplace, and then take a step back and ask, how can I scale this better? And that enters us into the third quadrant, which is being a real business owner. So the way to move from self-employed to a business owner is a few things. In the traditional way of it, it's, you know, having hundreds of employees, right? For most people, that's probably not going to happen, but what it can do is you can start to implement scalability and leverage. So scalability and leverage, here's a really everyday example. It was one of the first examples I saw of someone when I didn't understand it yet. I was like, that guy's smart. So I was self-publishing books, doing high school motivational speaking. I was the first motivational speaker ever on Vans Warped Tour, big, huge music tour. And I was trying to build my speaking career better in high schools and colleges. And there's this one guy named Josh Shipp who's like the cream of the crop, top 1% for youth speakers, probably does at least 500, maybe $1 million plus a year. And he's the cream of the crop. And so back in the day, I would look at him, and then I found out he had his own bureau. So he did something very smart. He was self-employed. Self-employed was, hey, look, $500 an hour, I'll come speak to your school. And he would do, like, you know, basically almost every single day during the school year, he would do a speech. And so he was always working. There wasn't leverage, but he would make good money, and he was his own boss. So that's self-employed. But then what he started to do is he realized probably this is very unsustainable, or this is very taxing and demanding, and I want to have a family. And so what he started to do was he made his own agency. So he had someone fielding all the requests from schools that wanted to book him, Josh Shipp, and in response, he trained other speakers that would go do it, and he would get a cut off the top. So all of a sudden, you know, reality is maybe he's only able to get to 250 schools in a year, but maybe there's 500 schools that want him. So all of a sudden, he can hit all 500 of those schools. he can raise his own speaking rate. Let's say, I'm just using easy numbers. Let's say he was $500 an hour. All of a sudden, he could move to $1,500, take all the top ones, and then give all the lower ones to his talent. So he was basically a manager or an agent, and then he had other people doing it all though. So he had someone else booking, he had someone else running it all. All he had to do was show up at the people that paid him the most money, and then collect the checks off a 20% standard agent or managing fee, I'm assuming, of all the other things. So all of a sudden, he starts to institute leverage. He's hired other people or instituted systems that have allowed him the scalability to start to do that. So when you move into more of the business quadrant, there's a few things. It's either you're paying other people and they're doing the work, or you're instituting, which before it was probably only that, but now because we have such great technology and softwares, there's so many businesses that you can actually put a lot of it on autopilot, and you can get paid independent of your own time. So in self-employed, hey, look, it's $50 an hour for my service. But in business, it's $50 for my product, and it's sold independent of me. So if we use that same massage therapy analogy, it might be it's $50 an hour for a massage. But then you move into the other quadrant, and it might be you patented a system of massage that's super unique, and kind of like Rolfing is a certain type of it. So you patented some unique, trademarked some unique thing, and it allowed you to have this huge self-employed business, but you were burnt out all the time. You couldn't get to all the clients. And so what you did is you moved to the business quadrant, and what you did is you created a book, you created a course, and you created a live training that teaches other masseuses not only how to institute your very specific technique that works wonders, but also how to generate clients. So then on top of that, maybe you have so much clients coming in that a couple of the top masseuses pay you maybe $1,000, and you train them, and you also promise them business on the back end. They go out and they take your leads and they close their leads, and they do your specific style of massage, and they say, look, I wanted Billy to do this massage, and they say, look, no problem, Billy's personally taught me this exact system, and you're going to get the exact same results. And so they go do the work, and you take 20% off the top, and all of a sudden you moved into a different role. You've started to institute leverage, you've started to institute scalability, and you've basically moved into being the figurehead. You take the premier clients and you work on lead generation, and then other people go perform the service, and you get a cut off the top. So the difference between self-employed and business and a business owner is, one, tax benefits. You move into a lower tax bracket, and then number two is you start to utilize leverage more. So you're no longer directly trading your time for money. See, the irony is a lot of people move from employee to self-employed because they want to be their own boss. But the problem with that is all they really are doing is moving into being the performer of the service and the business owner. So they're still working on a per hour basis. The problem with this is it is a fixed income ceiling, and there's only so many hours in a day. So you can increase your your price from $50 an hour to $100 an hour in the self-employed department, but at a certain point there's only so much you can increase, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So there's only so much money you can make unless you start to institute leverage, systems, and scalability, or you employ other people to do the work so that you aren't out there trading your time directly for money. What this does is it institutes leverage. John D. Rockefeller said the number one thing that young people should know if they want to get rich is to institute leverage. He said that you're never going to get rich when you're the one working for money. So you either want systems or softwares or other people helping you that allows more scalability, so you're getting paid more, and you invite the opportunity for real growth in your income or the profits of your business. So if you have an idea or you're presently self-employed, here's something before we move on to the last quadrant that you can ask yourself. How can I institute more leverage? How can I stop directly trading my time for money? How can I hire other people or give them percentage of the profits for them to do some of the work so I'm no longer directly trading my time for money? So the last quadrant is an investor, and generally in a capital gains, you're going to move to 15% of the money tax as opposed to upwards to 40 or 50%. So this is by reason. The government wants to incentivize people to invest in infrastructure in the economy. So what they've done is they've set up a tax structure where when you directly work for money, you're going to get taxed higher. But when you reinvest your money, when you buy real estate, when you buy commercial real estate, when you're investing into the stock market, and you pull your profits out, you're going to get taxed at a lower rate. And it goes so far as in real estate, a lot of people pay no money in taxes. The reason they're paying no money in taxes, so in a capitalist society, the society moves forward, it advances from capitalists, people with capital, people with money. Whereas in a communist society, or a socialist society, the government controls all the means. So the government is responsible for doing all the housing, the government controls all the markets, so it's like putting everything up to the government. But in a capitalist society, the government doesn't do that. The government incentivizes you and I to do it. And the people that do that are called capitalists, or in this instance, they're called investors. They're taxed at the lowest rates. They're able to push their profits off into deferred payments in the future, both in the stock market and in real estate. And the other thing is, and probably most importantly, they're not directly working for money. So what they're doing is they're having money work for them as opposed to them working for money. And when you move into that bracket, you can start to multiply money. You can start to multiply it as opposed to directly trading your time for money. So in this video, we talked about being an employee, and we talked about some of the disadvantages of that, and that's the very high amount of the money you're taxed at, especially if you're in a state like California, Hawaii, New York, that also has very high state taxes as well. You're not left with very much money. So the other problem with that is there's a low income ceiling. So if you're presently in an occupation like that, it might be worth talking to your manager or your boss about how you can increase your pay, how you can move to a performance-based, or how you can be more involved in the sales so you have a higher income ceiling. The next phase is self-employed. A lot of people make the mistake to go from being an employee to saying, I'm going to be my own boss. But really all they're doing is being the boss and the employee. They're still trading their time for money, only they also have to do all the tax stuff, they have to do all the accounting, they have to do all the other stuff of being the business owner. So really all they do is end up working more hours and still trading their time directly for money for a slight decrease in the tax situation. Then third, there's a business owner. Now, what a business owner is doing in the most traditional sense is they're either deploying capital to pay other people to do the work, or they are employing certain systems or softwares or technologies that allow them to move from trading their time directly for money to having leverage and scalability, where other people are performing the service, or other softwares or internet capabilities are able to provide value to customers. Instead of, hey, it's $50 an hour, it's, hey, here's this product that costs $50, you can buy it, and it's all available for you now, and I'm not going to be the one that is actually performing the service for you. So you move into more scalability, you move into more leverage. The benefit of this is there's only 24 hours in a day. So when you're in the self-employed department, there's only 24 hours. But when you move into the business department, you give yourself the opportunity to provide a service or value that is independent of time. And when it's independent of time, it allows a very much higher income ceiling that can allow you to make more money, But in this department, you're also employing other people and things like that. So you move into a much lower tax bracket. Not as low as the fourth quadrant, which is an investment, which is when you're making money work for you and you're helping to hopefully advance human civilization, because in a capitalist society, the government isn't doing that. It's incentivizing you with the lowest tax brackets for you to make your money work to help actually provide certain needs, whether it's housing, whether it's investment capital. You're actually helping with certain needs to advance society forward. So this is Jake Ducey with JakeDucey.com, and the intention of this channel, I Love Prosperity, is to help ensure your financial independence in an ever-changing world. If this video speaks to you, make sure you hit the like button on the side right over there, because the like button is what sends us out into the YouTube universe so more people see it. So make sure you hit the like button right over there, and then comment down below, this is the best time to be alive in human history. Comment down below, this is the best time to be alive in human history. Comment it down below. Seriously, please, comment it down below. This is the best time in human history to be alive. See, a lot of people hear all this and they go, yeah, the rich people controlling all the money and the governments and blah, blah, blah. This is the best time in human history to be alive. It's never been easier to move into lower tax brackets. It's never been easier to make more money because of the interconnectedness and the internet and the technologies and the information that's readily available. Remind yourself, this is the best time in human history to be alive. And if you're still here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the bell notification right over there. The bell notification is what notifies you for new videos. So even if you already subscribed last week, just double check. Have you actually hit the bell notification? It's right over there on the side. Have an absolutely fantastic day. Thank you for watching this video all the way through. And let me know in the comments down below, what's one new thing you've learned? What is one new thing that you have learned? Let me know in the comments. Have a great day, and I can't wait to hear about the one thing new that you have learned.